Hello, I am Red Mage, and welcome to a Magic the Gathering video featuring the color red. In today's video, Jund Aggro. In many ways, this is a classic Jund deck, with efficient creatures and spells up and down the curve. But we're pairing more aggressively slanted threats like Kumano faces Kakkazan, Charming Scoundrel, and Squee Dubious Monarch, with more classic mid-range threats like Mosswood Dreadknight and Bloodtithe Harvester, to give us the ability to go under control decks, solving the classic mid-range problem of just being too slow. Preacher of the Schism, Gix Yawgmoth Praetor, and Glissa Sunslayer are also all aggressively slanted threats that provide incredible value. Sheoldred the Apocalypse, probably the most powerful card in Standard, and Deep-Cavern Bat tying the room together by getting that one key card that a ramp or control deck needs to take over the game. For removal, we have 2 Molten Collapse, 3 Go for the Throat, and 2 Play with Fire. I'm unsure about the inclusion of Play with Fire. It's possible this should be a Voltage Surge or a Cut Down or a Strangle, but I found the versatility of being able to go face and getting the scry to be quite useful. This deck is a lot of fun to play, and because every card provides both aggression and value, it can deal with situations that either a more pure aggro deck or a more pure mid-range deck would not be able to deal with. I hope you enjoy the gameplay, and we'll be back at the end to wrap up. This looks like a very good hand. We have the age-old question of, do we play a Dreadknight as a creature? I think the answer is yes, so we can save our haste creature, especially since we have a second Dreadknight to draw with. So is this control or mid-range? Okay. I think we just try to draw a card here. Yeah. It's possible we should have done nothing. If they have temporary lockdown here, we are not in good shape. Dinnick, okay. Well, if they have Dinnick, then this is probably more mid-range. So, less likely to have a Wrath. Let's get the Squee going. And if they block, we at least can get it exiled. So we want to let damage go through since they're not blocking the Kumano. This way, they can't kill the Squee in response to prevent us from killing the Dinnick. Okay. Well, I mean, that's not ideal, but it doesn't help them deal with the board in any way. So let's see what they have going on. It's possible it would have been best to do this after attacking. I'm not sure it's going to matter too much. Okay. Those cards are not going to be a problem on their own. There we go. Definitely keeping this. What do you got? Duress, okay. We've got a lot of stuff going on in this hand. I guess we start with the Dreadknight. I guess so. That is a little slow and inefficient if we have to draw a card with it next turn. But what's the alternative? Okay. What? Oh, Cavern of Souls. Okay. It's a shame we didn't play that land first. That's probably something I should have thought about. I was more worried about drawing a tap land, which is probably more likely than drawing a Kumano. Well, let's see what's going on in their hand first. I see. Well, we're definitely taking the Path of Peril. We most likely are going to Molten Collapse both of the Flesh Gorgers, but I want to get the Dreadknight on the battlefield. The problem is they're just going to be able to get them back with the Virtue eventually. I mean, they're not super close to it yet, but still pretty scary. Not going to block here. We cannot outrace these things, but it's not the end of the world to take a hit. Okay. So they didn't draw a land, which means we don't have to worry about the Virtue too much. Okay. So what I'm going to do is kill the Sheoldred. I'm going to put a Wicked Roll on the bat. And I'll plan on double blocking the Flesh Gorger with the Dreadknight and Scoundrel, and I can then draw a card with the Dreadknight next turn. Kill that thing. Got a long way to go to race them, but it's a necessary first step to get that off the battlefield. We do have Sheoldred. Okay. Well, there's nothing we can really do about the Preacher. So I think we just get Sheoldred going. Wow. Just like the exact perfect thing. Alright, well, it's not over yet, although that makes it significantly more difficult. Alright, so we need to play the Dreadknight for sure. I guess we go ahead and get the Squee going. This gives us some chump blockers in the future. And I'm going to hold up Play with Fire so we can block the Preacher with the Dreadknight and Play with Fire to finish it off. What if we took the damage? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 with the Restless Vents. What do you got? Do we play with fire now? Probably, right? To scry into something. Try and make sure we have it. We don't want that. We definitely want 2 red mana open for the 2 Kumano. Are they both pain lands? Yikes. But I think that's the way it needs to be. If they only have 1 removal spell or just have the Mishra's Foundry to block and nothing else, then we should have it. Okay. There we go. Well, we have some tap land issues here, but I think we still keep... We have 25 lands in the deck, so we should be able to draw out of it. Gruul something. Oh, Gruul ramp? Is that what's going on? I guess let's find out. Oh. So, okay. We don't have any removal spells for the Thrill Seeker. We kind of do for the Fight Rigging in Glissa. Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm not too worried about them pumping up their mana dorks. Well, there's Go for the Throat. That'll be good. We can either prevent them from casting the Polani's Hatcher, or we can kill it when it enters the battlefield. If we want to, we could do Kumano. If we play Glissa, they'll play the Polani's Hatcher, and they're going to make chump blockers. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Okay. They probably didn't have a 6-drop since they didn't cast it. Something that would make the fight rigging go off. Although we were holding up mana, so it could be... The problem is that they can just keep chumping the Glissa, but I guess we need to get it going so we can eventually get through. And we can go for the throat as they approach. I assume they're going to keep pumping this Bramble Familiar. Okay, well I guess they have nothing. They're up to 7 mana. Okay. So we need to get... Oh... Whoops. We have our only basic on the battlefield. That's rough. That's really bad. Yep. Well, that's a good draw. So I think since they're not going to get to 7 toughness on the Bramble Familiar next turn, I think we want to play Gix so that we can draw a card from the bat. They're diversifying. They realize now... Well, they probably just want to return the Bramble Familiar to their hand. Okay. This looks like a great hand. So much value, plenty of interaction. Alright, let's see what they are working with. Oh. Well, we certainly take the go for the throat. They might feel like they're forced to Jace here. Yep. Which is totally reasonable.
Emotions are distractions. Focus on the facts. Organic minds are easily quelled.
So we can let them... I'd like to just try to kill this Jace with damage, but we're one short this turn. I guess we could play the Dreadknight. That's really bad against a Wrath, though. Although, I guess if it's a Wrath, we can draw a card with the Dreadknight at least. All right.
You hesitate to accept the truth.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
You can be made to obey.
I don't think we play with fire the Jace. We'll probably just Molten Collapse it. We'll see what we draw and then decide. I guess we could just go ahead and play the Dreadknight. I don't like this situation at all. I think we're way behind, but if there's a way to save the Molten Collapse for the Eternal Wanderer, we probably have to. I mean, it's pretty easy for them here to plus on the Dreadknight and go for the throat, the Glissa, and then we don't really have anything going on. Although then I suppose we can attack their Jace with the Restless Cottage. Oh, okay.
Something suspicious is going on. And for once, it's not my fault.
I'm not too upset about this. Obviously, it means we're not gonna...
Our plans are beyond your comprehension.
I guess we go ahead and kill the Liliana here. Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily mind discarding the Go for the Throat. We could wait and see what we want to do. Okay. Another play with fire. Okay. Well, I think, again, we start by drawing a card. They don't appear to have a counterspell. So I think we try to Squee plus play with fire the Jace. And then we'll still have Molten Collapse for the Eternal Wanderer.
You outwitted me. Impossible. I will iterate on my performance.
You won't be outsmarting me.
I assume they just Eternal Wanderer here. They can leave us with nothing but the 1/1. But they do know we have a bunch of creature lands, so... By a bunch, I mean 2, of course. Yep. I mean, there's nothing for them to do but the Wrath mode. Wow. What? That's crazy. So we can kill both just with damage. Oh, right. Never mind. Well, we can play with fire to finish it off.
no fun when they hit back.
You haven't seen the last of me.
I mean, they might have a Wrath here. I could see them taking that line with Sunfall. Nope. Okay, well, that's great for us. Well, I think we start by drawing a card. Okay. I mean, that's not too bad. We lose the Squee, but we've got a bunch of creatures.
My judgment is fine.
Kill that thing.
See you later.
Play a Dreadknight. We've got a good clock. We've got creature lands. They have nothing. Okay. I mean, that's not bad for them, but we still are getting our value. So I think we want to, in case they have a Sunfall, we don't want to play both of our Dreadknights. In case they draw a Sunfall, obviously. They don't have one right now. That looks pretty good. All right. I think we just Sheoldred here. We don't want to overcommit in case they top deck a Wrath. I mean, if they do, we have creature lands anyway. There we go. Yeah, so with Sheoldred there, we get them down to 5, which means that Kumano plus Restless Cottage is lethal. There should be no way for them. I guess if they draw a Farewell, then we play on, but we've still got 2 creatures to cast. Or cast 1 creature and attack with the Restless Vents if we draw land, for example. That early on, it looked like it was over. They had that Jace. It had complete control of the board. Our Glissa was in check the whole time. It never dealt damage to them. It never got a trigger. But thanks in huge part to the infinite value of Mosswood Dreadknight, we went from looking like we were for sure going to lose to just overwhelming advantage. And we're back to wrap up. The star of this deck is definitely Mosswood Dreadknight. It is both a recursive, aggressive threat and an incredible value engine. And my goal when putting this deck together was to pair Mosswood Dreadknight with red cards that could make a Mosswood Dreadknight deck aggressive enough to get past control decks. Now, certainly a Golgari mid-range deck can win a long game against a control deck because of its value. But those decks lose out on the opportunity to speed past control decks the way that red aggressive decks can. The presence of control decks that have the tools to completely take over the game makes this strategy worth pursuing. Is this the right configuration of cards to pursue this strategy? Probably not. But there are no cards in this deck that I want to play less of. And I think that's because most of these cards are good in a variety of situations. Bloodtithe Harvester is both a good threat and a removal spell. Glissa Sunslayer is both an aggressive value engine and an insurmountable blocker. Charming Scoundrel's haste means that it can get aggressive early, or finish off an opponent after they cast a Wrath, but it can also draw us a card when that's what we need. So if you're tired of having your big, value-y fun ruined by control decks, this is a deck you can play to enjoy your value and beat control decks without resorting to a more linear aggressive strategy. I had a 54% win rate in top 1% Mythic, so this is not a deck that's going to destroy the metagame, but it is something that you can win with in Mythic. Let me know in the comments if you've tried something similar and what cards you like to play, and I'll see you in the next one.